I just wanted to let I wanted to let you guys know that I'm recording. For those that are new, I always record these classes and then I send you the video so that you can have it for the homework. There's usually homework. We try to sew together as much as we can in class, but if you can't do it in class or you get behind, over the next week, you can finish so that you're ready to go when we meet again at our next session. So we're gonna meet again on the 23rd. So I usually have homework, you know, I'll tell you guys where to be so that we can get everything finished on the 23rd. So I'm recording right now and I'll send that video to everyone who's in the class. So if you fall behind, don't worry, you can check that out. Yeah, so I'm not going to go through step-by-step cutting. If you guys have a ruler like this, these invisible clear graphic 18-inch ruler, they're 2 inches wide, that's really helpful. Or if you're a quilter and you have the quilting rulers, that and all those tools, that would be helpful for you today too, because we're just making these rectangles and squares. If you are more comfortable like making a little pattern really quick, you can do that. But since we're kind of in a hurry to get going sewing, I don't recommend making a pattern. I think you should just measure out on your fabric and draw with some chalk and get cutting. So I'm not finished cutting myself. So I'm going to finish my cuts. Do you guys want me to leave this screen up for you?
For now, yes, until you're on to the next step, I guess.
Okay, so is everyone clear? Right now, you guys should be getting out your fabric, ironing it, and making these cuts. So you're gonna have, I told you to have 3 different types of fabric, right? A lining and then 2 different body fabrics, correct?
Yes.
So lay out your lining, fold it in half, right sides together, and then make that 9x9 cut. And then fold your body fabric in half, right sides together, make your 9x5 cut, and fold your contrast fabric, body number 2 fabric in half, right sides together, and make your 9x4 cut. The strap and the tabs, I'm going to have you wait on. Don't cut those today if you haven't already, to save time. And in addition to the 2 body fabrics and the lining, that's what I want you to focus on and cut right now. I want you to also cut, I'm assuming you guys have some leftover fabric from your, whatever you're cutting. It can be any type of fabric, whatever scrap you have laying around, scraps from the fabric you're cutting today, but we're going to do a practice zipper. So I need you to cut, in addition to what's on the screen, a 9x5 pieces. So I'll type it in to the chat because I'm throwing this at you. All right, can everyone see the chat I just sent?
Yes.
All right, great.
Yeah.
So if you're prioritizing things right now, I would write down the notes on what you're seeing on the screen and cut these 2 9x5 scraps, because I'm going to get you guys going with that first. That's the first step. So is our practice zipper. You're going to do a practice first, and then we'll go to starting our bag. The first step in sewing our bag is putting in the zipper. So just so you guys know.
Amy, can I get clarification on the two pieces? When you say fold them together, we're folding them to expedite the cutting process. We're not cutting on the fold or anything. We want
Correct.
actually two separate pieces.
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
I'm gonna finish cutting out my pieces. So I'm here. If you guys have questions right now, go ahead, ask away. So again, cut those two practice scraps first, the 9x5 for the zipper. And then the second priority are the two body 1, body 2, and the lining. The strap and the tabs can wait. Melissa, you joined. I'm sorry. Hello. Welcome. So do you guys still need the measurements? Can I take it down? All right, I'm going to take it down. If you need a reminder, I can remind you, and I can email that list to you after class too, so you have it for homework. So some of you joined a little bit late. We're making this crossbody strap, little clutch bag or pouch bag. It has an invisible zipper and lining, and you can remove the strap with the claw hook. So we have a lot of work to do today. I hope you guys are ready. I'm gonna switch on over to my up close camera. So we can start our practice zipper. So we're not going to think about the purse right now. We're just going to practice putting in an invisible zipper. Well, all of you have done zippers with me that have taken my class before. Have any of you done an invisible zipper before?
I don't think I did it right when I did an invisible zipper.
Well, there's different ways to do it, so don't feel bad. Some people do it, you know, there's probably like 5 or 6 different ways to do it. So everyone has a different style. And then there's a difference between putting an invisible zipper into a closed opening like this, like ours is going to be a pouch, versus putting it into a dress or a skirt where it's open at the top. So that's obviously a little different. The steps are different. So we're going to be doing a pouch style where it's closed on both ends. Do you guys need a few more minutes to cut things out and get settled?
Yes.
Okay.
And Amy, do we need to iron on the interfacing right now or no?
No, not yet.
Okay, good.
You can put the interspacing aside with the hooks for now.
Okay, sounds good.
I put these are my 2 lining pieces, and then this is my body 1 fabric right here, and this is my body 2 fabric. And I'm just putting them to the side right now, and the interfacing, because we don't need those right now. And the other zipper, I don't want mine fall on the floor. You're just gonna need these 2 9x5 pieces. Mine, I already sewed my ends. Yours are gonna be just 2 pieces, and your other zipper right now. So if you haven't finished cutting all the body pieces and the lining yet, but if you finish these 2 pieces, that's all I need you to do right now, so I can get you guys going.
So were we supposed to sew them together?
Not yet. Not yet. I'll walk you through it step by step.
Okay.
Do you guys all have the 9x5?
Yes.
Okay. Cool. So you're gonna take your 2 9x5 pieces and put them together, right sides together, and sew a 1/2 inch. Mine's a little more than a 1/2 inch. So about a 1/2 inch on each end. Sew each end together. Make sure you backstitch really well. So I already did it on mine. You're gonna do exactly what I've done. Put right sides together and then put it on your sewing machine and sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance. This is my 1/2 inch seam allowance. And you're just gonna sew a 1/2 inch down, backstitch really good at the top and the bottom. And then you're gonna do the same thing down here, a 1/2 inch seam allowance and a little 1/2 inch stitch right here. You wanna leave the rest of it open. So there should be an 8 inch opening because we have a 9 inch zipper that opens to 8 inches. So if you have a 1/2 inch stitched here and a 1/2 inch stitch here, that leaves 8 inches for your opening. So now you're gonna do this on your sewing machine, 1/2 inch seam allowance, and do these 2 stitches. Step 1. And just a regular straight stitch. So after you're done sewing that 1/2 inch seam allowance on each end, it'll look like this. And after we're done putting in this practice zipper, we're just gonna sew up the ends and you guys are gonna have a freebie pouch. So we gotta make use of everything. So after you sew the 1/2 inch seam allowance, I'm gonna go to the next step at both ends. Then you're gonna press the seam open and you want it to lay open nice and flat, a 1/2 inch on both sides. And this is your guide, similar step to when we do the other zippers. You want to have that nice, even 1/2 inch seam allowance right here because it's a guide for your zipper. So I have my ironed opening and my seam allowance all nice like that. And then the next step is to open your zipper and we're going to iron our zipper. So the invisible zipper is a little different. This is a different step. We don't do this with the regular zippers, but you see this coil here that's kind of rolled in and you can push it out. You're going to iron it out flat. So you're going to just roll this coil flat and you're just going to iron it out flat all the way as far as you can go up to where the zipper pull is. So this is the zipper pull. This is the pull and this is the slider. And the plastic things here are the stoppers. And this is called the tape. So I'll show you on the board how I do it. I just take the tip of my iron and I use it to push that coil. I don't know if you can see, but I'm pushing the coil flat and then I'm just rubbing the tip. Be careful that your iron's not too hot. You don't want to melt. You don't want to melt your zipper. The zipper is plastic. So the purpose of ironing that coil flat is so that you can get real close to the, with your sewing machine, with the needle, you want to get, the goal is to get up really close so that it doesn't show a lot. That's why we do that and it's helpful. So now that you turn it upside down like this and you iron it from this direction, wrong side up. So now my coil is laying flat. I mean, it still rolls in a little bit, but it should be kind of laying flat like that. So it should look like this. How are you guys doing?
I'm sorry, I missed the first part of the ironing the zipper. So you open it up and then you iron it down wrong side.
Yes, yeah. So you open the zipper up and then you lay it down wrong side up like this.
Okay.
And with your fingers, you can see how I'm doing. You can roll the coil, this little zipper coil out, and you want to iron it flat.
Okay.
As flat as you can. And you can only go as far up to the slider as you can. But have a good hot iron, not too hot. It is, you know, this is plastic. You don't want to melt it.
Right. Okay.
So, and it should help, it should open it up and get a little bit flatter. It's just going to make sewing it in a little bit easier.
Got it.
Does anyone else?
Do you
have
do
any
both
questions?
sides?
I'm sorry?
Do you do both sides of the zipper? You
Yes.
iron both? Both? Okay.
Yep. I'm going to see if I can get my camera closer to show you guys. My hand, show you guys my hand. Okay. So I start at the top here like this, and I use the tip of my iron to help me roll that foil flat. And you can see it roll over. See? And I do this side. I do both sides. Whoops. That usually doesn't happen to me. All right, Carol, Lindsay, Maria, where are you guys? Are you with me?
Yeah, I just ironed my zipper.
Yeah, I
Yes.
iron them.
Melissa? Frida? Okay. All right. So after you iron your zipper, you're going to lay it. And this is, again, it's very similar to the regular zipper. Lay it into, so you're going to lay it face down, right side down. I have the wrong side of what I'm making facing me. This is the right side. And then I lay my zipper down wrong side. And I'm going to kind of push my zipper slider into the opening. I want to make sure it's at the back of the opening. So if your tape is poking out a little like that, it's okay. Because we want the opening of the zipper to be right at the back of the opening on our pouch that we're making. Right? Because you don't want a hole. So just make sure it's at the end. Now I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to take one side of the tape and I'm going to just focus on that one side. And I want the coils to be this zipper here. I call that the coil. It's going to be like just behind. Well, actually, well, yeah, you can have it just behind the fold like this. But we're not going to, if we were sewing a regular zipper, we would sew like this. But because it's an invisible zipper, we don't want to sew the fold to the front of the fabric. We're going to flip that fabric back like this. So we're only sewing the zipper to the seam allowance. Okay, with the regular zipper, let me open this up again. If you guys remember, we sew the zipper straight through the seam allowance, straight through to the other side, and you have that stitch right here, correct? The difference is now we're gonna not sew through. We don't want that stitch to show because it's an invisible zipper, right? So we're gonna push the fabric back, the body fabric, and we're just going to sew the tape to the seam allowance. And I'm gonna start pinning. So pick a side and match your coil just behind the fold. So I can see that fold line, and I'm matching my coil just behind it and pinning.
Are you matching the coil so you like you don't see it, right? It's kind of like oh, is the coil like folded out, flattened out?
Yeah, so see, this is the coil, your zipper, right? And I'm just matching it up to that fold line. This is my fold line, I'm pointing to it, and my coil's just like kind of right below it, behind it. So if my fold's here, my zipper is behind it.
Okay, that's after we flattened it, like.
Yeah,
kind of
after you
pull it out.
iron it. Yeah,
Okay.
and don't worry, don't be so worried about how close it is to the fold line or not. You can see how I'm doing it, as close as you can, like that. And I'm just finishing the pinning. I'm not going to have you guys do a basting stitch. Normally that's what I would have you do, but we're not going to baste. We're going to freestyle it. So we're going to pin the other, after you pin that side, then you go to the other side. We're going to pin the other side too. Same way. So the slider is a little bit in my way, so I'm just kind of manipulating the tape so that I want my tape to be next to that fold line that I made when I ironed, right? And when I pin, I start at the bottom of the zipper and pin up, and then I go back to the bottom and pin up.
Sorry, you said you start from the bottom and then pin up. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah,
Is there a reason why you go that way?
I'm kind of superstitious about zippers. And I always tell my students to always pin like in one direction with a zipper. Because what happens is zippers get sewn in and one side's higher than the other. This side will be higher than that side. They don't match. It doesn't matter so much on a pouch like this. It matters on a skirt or dress where you want the waist or the neck or whatever to match. On this, it's not going to matter. So don't worry about it too much, but it's a good habit. It's good to form good habits. If you start here and pin up, start at the bottom on this end and pin up. Because the way you hold the fabric and the zipper tape and the direction you're going, it does affect, because you're moving the fabric and the fabric moves. So it does affect the how things are moving, and it might come out uneven. So that's why I like to always, if I start at the bottom and pin up, I start at the bottom and pin up on this side. When I'm doing a regular zipper, I always pin in a circle, right? I start at the top and I pin around and I come up. And I'm kind of superstitious about that. That's just me. You might see other people teach it differently. So your pouch should look like this, or your practice zipper, but we're not going to waste this practice. We're going to turn it into a pouch. So, and then we're going to go to the sewing machine. So I'm going to sew the same side that I started pinning first. So this is the side I pinned first. And again, make sure that this body fabric's facing back. You only want to be sewing the tape to this one layer of fabric. And I'll just tell you now while I'm here, I'll mention again the sewing machine. We're going to use our zipper foot. I forgot to put that on the materials list. I'm sorry, you guys. You do need your zipper foot. So I hope you guys have it. Did I put it on the list? I forgot. Do you guys have your zipper foot?
Yeah.
Okay. So we are going to use our zipper foot And you're gonna get up and put your needle in as close to that, not too close, but right up next to, I'm gonna say next to that coil here. You can, where I'm folding it back. And you're gonna stitch right here next to the coil all the way down. When you get down to the bottom, you're gonna have to pull, just like when you're sewing a regular zipper, you're gonna have to pull the zipper up so that your needle can pass, and then you finish sewing to the bottom and back stitch, and then you stop. So we're gonna sew each side separately. That's another difference between the regular zipper. The regular zipper we sew in one continuous loop. This one we're gonna do each side separately. So I'm gonna go to the sewing machine, and I just recently learned a new trick. Maybe I'll do a class showing you on a new trick on how to make a perfect invisible zipper, because one of the issues with the invisible zipper is when you move the slider up, sometimes you end up getting this like bump. I'll show you on, I was in a hurry when I made this, so mine didn't come out too great. I have this bump right here where the tape's showing, and that's from moving the slider. And if you're not careful and go slow, you'll get that bump. And so I learned a new trick to not have that bump. So I'll have to show that in another class. All right, I'm gonna go to the sewing machine. Any questions? I think the invisible zipper is actually easier than the regular zipper. It's not that hard. People are like, I don't know how, but it's just super easy. You just have to iron that little coil out and then sew.
Which one is the zipper foot again? Is it the?
I'll show you. Let me go. I'm going to move my camera. I'm not going to move my camera for every sewing step, but I will for this, because you guys want to see the zipper foot. And I'll show it to you when I get to the sewing machine. You can always look at your manual too. They have a diagram. So it's the smooth, it just has a smooth foot on it. But yeah, the zipper foot is, I think it's pretty easy. Nothing scary about it. I mean, the zipper, invisible zipper. So I just put on my zipper foot, and there's two channels, right? So you have to figure out which channel to switch it into. You want that zipper foot right up next to the coil. See how my zipper foot's like laying right here? If it was in, if it was in the other channel over here, it wouldn't be up next to the coil. So it's up to you to position. So see, this is so hard because it's backwards. I need a filmer. Now I'm not up next to my tape. I would have to sew from this side if I'm going to use that channel. I hope you guys see that. Does anyone have any questions on that? Are they confused?
Sorry, I was confused. So you sew one side, and for this particular time, the majority of your fabric is on the left-hand side of the zipper foot of the whole machine, right?
Yeah,
And then-
you always want your fabric on the left-hand side, unless,
And then,
yeah.
and then for the other side, are you saying turn it around, or are you saying that do it again with the majority of the fabric on the left-hand side?
Are you confused about the channels on the zipper foot?
Kind of, because I know that you were saying like try to sew in the same direction for both sides. So, yeah, I was getting confused.
Okay, so this is the side I started with that I pinned first. And you're gonna start at the top of the zipper. Don't start at the bottom. You always want to start at the top. So go ahead and then I'm gonna sew this side first. So I'm just gonna sew a straight line straight down this side, and then I'm gonna sew a straight down line down the other side, and that's it. It's really simple. So in order to sew that stitch line right here, Lindsay, against the coil, is that clear?
Yes. And so when you do the second, well, I guess maybe I could just wait till you do it and see it.
Yeah, so to do the first one, I don't like to, I usually, well, yeah, when I do this one, I'm gonna have to switch the fabric to this side.
Okay, yeah, that was my question. Sorry.
Okay,
I was getting confused because I know you said go in the same direction.
yeah, so when I do
then-
the other side, I'm gonna switch it like this.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm gonna have to move my zipper foot, right? Do you understand that? There's two different channels.
Oh, you can't just use the other channel, the other side?
Yeah, so see, there's two channels to hook. You can either hook your zipper foot in here on this side,
Mhm.
the other side. So when you move your fabric to the other side, to do the other side of the zipper, you have to change the channel.
Okay.
So I switch my zipper foot to the other side so that I can get up close to it. That's what I was trying to show you when I was.
Okay, I see.
You just need to change the channel. You'll see when you do it, okay? I don't want to confuse you more.
No, I think I got it now. Thank you.
All right, now I gotta change. You'll see when you put it up, you want to line this little silver foot up against your coil, but not too close, because sometimes if you get too close, and I don't want to confuse you guys. Just up next to it is all you need to know, up next to it. And I'm not going to make you baste it. You could baste it, but I don't think you guys need to. So I'm going to back stitch to the top, just like you do with everything. All the rules apply. And I'm going to use my fingers to kind of, sorry, you guys can't see. I'm using my fingers over here. To fold the you can't see, to fold that coil back. See how I'm using my finger to push the coil open? I'm pushing the coil open. That way my needle on my sewing machine can get up closer here. You guys understand that?
Yes.
And I'm watching that fold line that I have ironed into. I'm pulling the other side away because I don't want to stitch this side. So I'm pulling this side away, and then I'm using my other hand, this hand, to roll that back. And I'm making sure that it stays on my fold line. So I can barely see my fold line, and that's my guide. I want this coil to stay straight just below that, behind the word, that fold line. If you want to draw and chalk on top of that fold line a guide for yourself, good. And I'm just taking the pins out as I go. So when I get down to the bottom here, I need to lift my foot. I pull my needle out a little bit, just a little, so I can have some more room to move my slider. And hopefully I can get my slider through. If not, if I can't get my slider through and move it, I'm just gonna stitch all the way to the end with my slider on the back. See how we do. There, so I was able to get it through. I stitched a little further down. Now I'm just back stitching. And I just clipped all my threads. And I'm just taking a look. It looks pretty good. Looks like that. So now I'm just going to go to the other side. So now my fabric is on the right side of the sewing machine. And I have to switch my zipper foot. So it was in, I can't remember which channel it was in. It was in the left, and now I'm putting it in the right. So again, I want to kind of be up as close as I can get right next to that coil. So I'm moving my needle a little. Do that, and I'm going to use one hand to pull this fabric out of the way, and the other hand. So this
So you
hand,
start at the coil, right? Not necessarily end of the ribbon.
no, I start just like you would sew anything. I start like a 1/4 inch down from the top, right? And then I back stitch to the top.
Okay. Oh, I usually go all the way to the end, so I shouldn't.
So I usually start a little bit down from the top so that my fabric doesn't like bunch up.
Got it. Okay.
But you want your needle right. Your needle is sewing right next to this coil. So see how I'm flattening it out with my finger. Don't sew up on the coil or you won't be able to, your zipper won't function because you'll have a stitch in it. But you just want to sew right next to that where there's like a fold. And keep your tape. Your tape should be matching the end of your fabric. You don't want your tape sliding in like that, right? Because that's more than a 1/2 inch. You want to keep your tape, it should be matching the fabric here. The coil should be like right behind that fold line of where your seam allowance was. And don't get too nervous about this. It's pretty intuitive if you just, when you iron that coil flat and then you just want to stitch next to the edge of the coil and follow your fold line. So I'm at the bottom again and I have to move my slider. So I moved it up way above where I'm sewing. And then I'm trying, you have to sort of try to get right back on top of where you were again. I actually pulled my needle out so that I was able to get through. You don't want to do that. You can help it. So when you're done with the zipper, then you go to the ironing board and you iron these folds together. And down here where there's a little bit of a bubble from where the slider was, there's a little bubbling here because the slider was in the way. I just used the iron to place the fabric next to each other, and it still looks really nice. But that's how it looks when it's finished. So on the inside, it looks like this. So technically, this is not supposed to be like this. Your tape should be matching the end. So mistake there. So your seam allowance and your zipper should be matching. So my zipper moved while I was sewing, while I was taking the pins out. That's why I like to baste, have you guys baste. Unless you're really careful, this will happen. This isn't a dress or a skirt, so losing that much in our fit isn't going to be a big deal. It's just a practice and it's a pouch, but that's what I want, you guys. Your tape should be matching the end of your seam allowance. You guys understand? Am I confusing you? Is that clear?
Yeah, I think so.
So I'm going to go to my ironing board. And this is the fun part. So you just use your iron to clean up that little bump that I made. A little bump there. And it won't even be noticeable. Hardly noticeable. So this is your first zipper, so don't be hard on yourself, okay? That's why I wanted you to do a practice so you can get a feel for it. And then when you actually do the real zipper on your purse, the bag that we're making, it won't be, you can learn from your mistakes. So there's our invisible zipper. It's like this on the inside. So this is where I made a mistake. This is why basting is important, because it'll help hold the tape to your fabric. This is where I hit the slider and I went off track. So the more you do these zippers, the more precise. I haven't made invisible zippers in a long time, so I'm rusty at it too. But the more you do it, if you're doing it all the time, the better you get at it, obviously, as with everything. So after you put in your zipper, are you guys all doing that right now?
Yeah, I'm about to.
After you put in your zipper, we're just going to sew up these ends. One end here, one end here, and this end here, 1/2 inch seam allowance, and it makes a little pouch. So I don't want, you guys get extra product in this class. I'm gonna do that right now while you guys are working on your zippers. Any questions before you go to one? So for the video, for video's sake, I'm sewing a 1/2 inch seam allowance on both sides of the practice zipper fabric, and we're just going to make a little bag out of it. So I just sewed a 1/2 inch seam allowance on that side, and now I'm going to sew the other side. I'm starting at the Oh, make sure you leave the bag open, the zipper open. Otherwise you'll be locked out. So I opened my zipper. And I'm gonna start on this end and sew up to the zipper tape. And now I'm gonna sew one last 1/2 inch seam allowance along the bottom. And then I'm just gonna paint my edges. And then you just turn it right side out and you have a quick little zipper pouch that you can put in your purse. Put pencils in it or makeup, lip gloss. I have several of these. Like that. I'm just gonna paint this seam allowance a little bit so it's not unraveling into my zipper. And I'm trimming the corners off. So you guys, if you want to make this little bonus pouch for homework, you can. You don't have to do this right now. I just want you guys to practice the zipper. And then you can put it aside and we'll get to work. I don't like these Amazon invisible zippers. They're not very good quality. My pouch. Okay, Maria, where are you on your zipper? Are you in the middle of sewing, or can you show me what you have?
I'm still sewing the other side of the zipper.
Okay, how about Carol?
Same, I'm sewing the second side. Almost done though.
Lindsay?
Oh, I'm just taking notes. I don't have the zipper.
Oh, that's right, you don't have the zipper. Okay. Melissa? Frida? Okay. Oh, she's sewing her first side. Okay, thanks for letting me know, Frida.
What do you do? Because a lot of times I get stuck trying to push that zipper through. Is
Yeah.
there,
Yeah, so I will lift my needle out of the fabric completely sometimes to get the
Okay.
slider through, or I will try to just, when I demoed the first side that I sewed, I couldn't get the slider past, so I just sewed all the way down the tape as far as I could go, and I went around the slider.
okay,
Or you could pull your needle out of the fabric and give yourself a little more height.
okay. But I should sew as far as I can towards the end of the slider before I try to move the slider over, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I just learned, like I said, a trick. If you get a zipper that's longer than what you need, like 2 inches longer, you put the zipper in, so it's longer than your opening, and you slide the slider past where, anyway, I learned a trick. I have to teach a class. I'll show you guys in another class. But there is a trick now that I'm excited about, because I often get the bump here from moving the slider myself. It's really difficult to not have it.
I just finished sewing this zipper and I ironed it. It looks nice.
Good, good, good. Yeah, see, it's not that hard. I mean, it's, if you iron the coil back
Yeah.
and pin it, and maybe, you know, take the extra time to baste it too, first, you can get a really good a really good look. It's hard to go wrong, you know?
Yeah. It looks so clean.
Right, yeah, I mean, an invisible zipper always looks really nice, so. And then you iron it a little bit and you can barely see any sort of mistakes that you might have made when sewing it. So,
Right.
do you guys wanna, okay, so Maria's done. Frida's probably almost done. Carol?
I'm fighting with the zipper pull, but I think I'm almost there.
Okay, well, for the gals that are done with the zipper and you're ready for the next step, Carol, I can repeat everything, don't worry. Go ahead and take body fabric number 1 and body fabric number 2. And we got to sew those together, so. I'm gonna take, so I have 2, this is my body fabric number 1. I'm gonna take 1 piece and 1 piece of body fabric number 2 and put right sides together on the long side, the 9-inch side. I'm matching up these 2 edges together on the 9-inch long side. And I'm gonna pin that, we're gonna pin it and sew it, a 1/2-inch seam allowance. We're gonna do that for both. So now we're starting our purse, the crossbody bag with the invisible zipper. And the first step is to sew these 2 body pieces together with a 1/2-inch seam allowance. So I'm going to just go ahead and pin both of them together at the same time. Right sides together.
Sorry, can you repeat that? Was it the 2 body pieces together, right side together?
Yes, take body fabric 1 and body fabric 2, and you're going to match up the long side, the 9-inch long side, right sides together, just like I'm doing right now. Pin them because we're going to sew them together with a 1/2-inch seam allowance.
Wait, is that 3 layers then?
It's 2 layers. Mine just looks like 3 because of this fabric. It's just 2 layers, body fabric 1, body fabric 2. And you're gonna have
good. Okay.
2 exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I have 2. I'm working on the front of my purse. So it's this front piece here, 1 and 2. So I have my 2 pieces. I'm going to go to the sewing machine right now and I'm going to sew a 1/2-inch seam allowance right here. 1/2-inch seam allowance, backstitch at the top and bottom on both pieces. And then I'm going to iron the seams open. I'm going to press the seams open after I sew. I'm going to go do that right now and then I'll come back to you guys. So now you should have two pieces like this. This is your purse with the two contrasting fabrics. And you're going to take your inner facing and you're going to iron your inner facing to the fabric. So you turn it over, wrong side facing you, and then you take the glue side of the inner facing, the shiny side. So you can see the glue, it's shiny and slick, and you want to put the glue side down on the wrong side of your fabric, just like this. And then you take your iron and you iron it slowly. You hold the iron and count to like 10 and then move slow. I start at one corner, I'll start at this corner, and then I'll slowly move up and I'll move back and forth across the fabric like this because I don't want any bubbles in it. And I don't lift my iron. I leave the iron on and I just slowly move it. I don't lift it up and put it back down. I just slowly move across and count to 10 and then move and count to 10. And we're going to do that for both pieces. You're attaching the glue side to the wrong side of your piece, just like this, match it up and ironing it. I'm going to run to the restroom. I have to use the restroom really quick and I'll be right back, you guys, okay? All right. How are you guys doing? Carol?
I'm always behind, so I'm still catching up. So basically you have, in the end, you have two pieces, the body one and body two pieces that you sewed right side together lengthwise, right?
Yes.
And then I iron it open and then we're ironing the interfacing. So I should have two pieces that are the same size.
Yeah, these two pieces. So I have one and then I have my other one. And now I'm
Got it.
gonna iron my interfacing to it.
Okay.
Maria, are you at the same stage?
Yes, I'm ironing my interfacing.
Okay, great. And
Sorry, that was a 1/2 inch allowance, right?
1/2 inch seam allowance.
Okay.
And Frida, how are you doing? You can just type it to me in the chat. So I'm doing the interfacing right now if you want to watch me how I do it. I start in one corner, my hot iron, and I just sort of slide onto the fabric and I work my way up and then I count. I hold it and count to 10. This is my favorite kind of interfacing. It's woven. There's different types of interfacing. There's woven interfacing. There's non-woven, fusible, non-fusible. Depending on what you're using it for, you might need a different type. And then there's different weights. So there's lighter interfacing and stiffer interfacing, depending if you're making a big stand-up collar, maybe for an opera singer, or you just need a very light interfacing, like on this fabric. This black backing is interfacing, and it's very thin, it's very light. So just be careful when you iron on the interfacing that the seam allowance is pressed open while you're doing it. That's the only little trick on this one. I think most of the interfacing that you guys probably have used in the past or buy at Joann's, it's non-woven. It's called Pellon, P-E-L-L-O-N. It's a non-woven fusible interfacing. I think that's like the most common one that they sell. The non-woven interfacing is the cheapest. The woven interfacing is the nicer interfacing for like nice garments. So after we're done ironing on the interfacing, then we're going to take these two body pieces and our two lining pieces and our zipper, and we're going to put in the invisible zipper, and then we'll be done for today. And we'll finish the rest when we meet again. So for homework, if you guys could have the strap and the tab cut, have everything cut for next week, so we don't have to spend time doing that. So you can kind of see when you're ironing the glue, like when it adheres, it changes color. So I can see that it's sticking. So that's a good thing. if you're done with the interfacing, the next step is to prep your zipper. So Maria, if you're done, you can take your zipper and iron that coil flat, just like we did with the practice zipper.
Okay.
And if your interfacing is like sticking off the edge, like hanging off the edge, this is my fabric is longer. That's what I want. If there's more interfacing hanging off the edge, you should trim that down. I'll show you on my other piece. I stayed up way too late last night. My husband and my son are on a Boy Scout camp out. So I had the house all to myself. And I was watching movies. Okay. So on this little edge here, my interfacing is longer than my fabric. I'm just gonna trim that off with the scissors. I don't want the interfacing. It's hot and sticky and gluey, and I don't want it sticking to anything.
If my interfacing is slightly smaller, should I cut off the fabric or just leave it?
No, that's a good thing.
Okay.
Technically, the interfacing should not be in the seam allowance because we don't want that extra thickness in the seam allowance. So yeah, you do want it to be a little bit shorter. So now I'm just ironing my lining and prepping the lining. I want it to be ready to sew. And I'm gonna iron my zipper open, the foil like we did with our practice zipper. So I'm just opening that coil up flat. I need a higher setting on my iron. So I'm gonna let my iron get nice and hot. So the next step requires both your pieces of lining and both your body fabric pieces and your zipper. So I'm going to try again to open up my coil. A hotter iron helps. So now I'm going to pin, so this is the big step for this project. Most of the rest of the project's fairly straightforward and will be pretty easy for you guys. This is the trickier part where we're actually inserting our zipper. I'm just trimming some of my loose ends off my lining and spraying like crazy. So you want to take one of your body fabric pieces. This is the top, my green fabric is the top of my purse. This is the top of my purse where my zipper is. And you're going to take your zipper, you're going to put it face down. I know it's a little hard to see because it's black, but I have it face down. This is the front, the face. It's going down on the right side of the top of my bag. And I'm just, it's actually fitting pretty perfectly. I mean, the zipper tape goes off the edge a little bit. I want the opening centered, so I'm moving my zipper tape so that my stopper and my stopper's right here, my slider's right here, are the same distance from the edge, about a ½ inch. So my stopper should be a ½ inch from this edge, and the slider should be about a ½ inch from this edge. And then I'm just matching the top of my tape with the top of the fabric. And then I'm going to take my lining fabric and I'm going to put it, this is the face, the front, the front right side. It's going to go down on top. So make sure you're using, this should be 9 inches. Yeah. Check. Yeah, 9 inches. So this is 9 inches and this is 9 inches. They should be matching. So I'm going to pin my lining on top of the zipper tape. So I'm sandwiching my zipper tape in between the lining and the face. And I'm going to pin.
Amy, just to double check, you're doing the body of the fabric right side up, the zipper right side down, and then the lining right side down?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I started at the back of my zipper and I'm pinning up. So I think I want you guys to do the same thing. So I start at the back of my zipper, the bottom of my zipper, where the pole is, and I'm pinning up. And this is the right side of my lining is face down, and my zipper is face down, and my body fabric's face up. This is similar to how we did that leather clutch. Might feel somewhat familiar to you. We put that metal zipper in the leather clutch bag class. So when you open it up, it should look like all these frays. It should look like this. You open it up. This is right side, and here's the wrong side of my zipper. So after you pin that side, then you go to the sewing machine and you're gonna sew. You're gonna start at the top of your zipper. You're gonna put your needle in right here at the top of your zipper, just like you did with your practice zipper. And you're gonna use your zipper foot, and your zipper foot should be flush, lining up with the edge of the coil. This little bump here is my coil. So my zipper foot and my needle is right here, and I'm stitching right along the coil, right along here, all the way down. And then when you get down to the about 1.5 inches from the bottom, that's when you try to pull your slider up and move your slider up here so that you can finish the rest of your zipper. If you can't get your slider past it, you should be able to lift your foot and push it through and leave the needle in. But if you can't, you can pull the needle out, but then it's a little tricky because you got to make sure you put your needle back in the same place. Or you can try to sew just around the slider. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine and do that. I'm going to sew 1 stitch on this side, just like we did with the practice zipper. And then after I'm done with this side, then I'm going to come back to the table and I'm going to show you how to pin the other side. So we're going to do each side of the zipper separately. Any questions? You guys are good? Ah, we lost Frida. Carol, Maria, you're good?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to show you this again on the machine?
Sure.
Did I hear a yes?
Yes.
Okay. I heard a dog.
He's saying yes.
Is that Carol's dog?
It's mine. It's Maria's.
Maria's dog? So I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna be very careful that my zipper tape and my lining fabric and my body fabric, those 3 layers, they're all lined up nice and straight on the edge here. I'm gonna try. That's what everyone's goal is. So that's how it should look. And then when you roll it over, you're gonna end up ironing this and you're gonna have a nice clean edge. There's no stitching or anything. So, and the lining's on this side. So now I'm going to go to the ironing board and I'm going to iron this before I pin the other side of the tape. So when at the ironing board, this is where you can kind of straighten things up. If you didn't sew a straight line and it's kind of off or funky, you can kind of correct things with the iron a little bit. And you can iron the lining down too, so that it doesn't get into your zipper. That's the worst when it gets caught. So my lining is coming out really long for some reason. I don't know what happened. I measured everything twice, so I'm going to trim it down. Because if anything, you would want your lining to be a little smaller than your actual garment, or not garment, but your actual project. So I'm just gonna trim mine off. So it's the same. So this is what you should have right now after you sew one side. So I'm going to go back to the table. And now to do the other side, we're going to open this up. We're going to turn, actually you're turning it around. So I'm taking my right side up of my other side. I'm following the same steps that I did on the first side. And I'm going to line my zipper tape face down. It's face down. This is the pole here. And this is my fabric right side up, top of it. And I'm just going to, again, align the opening. I want the back of my slider to be about a ½ inch from the edge, and the back of my stopper about this ½ inch. My zipper's open. And then I'm going to take my lining, and it's right side down. So this is my right side, and I'm going to put it on top of that zipper tape. Ah, butterfingers. And I'm going to pin. And after I pin, then I'm gonna sew it just like I did the other side on my sewing machine with the zipper foot. Right up close. All the same steps we just did. I'm doing the exact same thing. Any questions, you guys?
Yeah.
So I know it's 12:30. If you guys can hang in there for 5-10 more minutes, I'll finish putting in the zipper, and then that's it for today. So next week, or not next week, but next class, we'll pick up from there. So if you guys can have all these steps finished the next time we meet. And then the little practice zipper, I kind of talked you guys through it on the video if you want to finish making a pouch with it so it doesn't go to waste. You can at home. We won't do it in class unless we have time. But I'm pretty sure we'll be busy completing this purse. So I pinned it just like I did the other side. When you open it up, open up the two lining pieces. It looks like this. Like that. So I'm going to put my needle in. Again, I like to start at the top. So if I start at the top, so I'm going to have my fabric to the right side of the sewing machine, which I normally don't like, but I would rather start sewing at the top and have my fabric on the right than to sew from the bottom or turn it around. So that's my choice, and that's what I'm recommending to you guys. And I'm going to put my needle in at the top here, right next to the coil, and I'm going to stitch really careful all the way along. I'm going to pull my slider up when I get to the bottom and finish. Any questions before I do that? Lindsay,
No, all
Carol,
good.
Maria, you guys good?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay, I'm gonna go do it and then I'll come back to the camera unless you guys want to watch it again. Maria, do you
We're
want?
okay.
I think I'm good.
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. So I had to switch my zipper foot to the other channel when I'm doing the other side. Hold on, you guys. Okay, so when you do this, just make sure that your other side of the fabric is out of the way. This other piece here that you finished sewing, the other side of the zipper, make sure it's out of the way. I don't want you guys to sew that. Phew, that was hard. The other side was much easier. So take your time, you guys. So when you're done, you're again able to iron, just like we did on the other side, the lining and the body fabric. You're able to iron that fold in. So maybe start with the lining side and fold your zipper tape back. Press. So again, my lining fabric on this side is too long, so I'm gonna trim it. So there's your invisible zipper. So now the rest is easy. We're just gonna sew up the sides. We're gonna put in our gusset, finish sewing the bottom, and oh, we need to put our tabs in and sew the sides. So we'll do that all next week. It's pretty straightforward. Now that we have the zipper in, linings attached, so it should look like this at this point. Do you guys have any questions?
Yeah, would you recommend putting a top stitch on the zipper? By the zipper?
No, then it wouldn't be an invisible zipper.
Okay,
So the point of the invisible zipper is that there's no stitching up here. It looks like you can't, it just looks seamless, right?
right.
Whereas something with, so this bag, show you, Carol, is with a regular zipper and there's a stitch line here.
Okay, so you do those for regular zippers. For invisible, you never put a top stitch. You just kind of let it lay flat like that, right?
Well, this isn't a top stitch. This stitch is showing because when we sewed the tape, the zipper tape to the bag, this stitch here is the same stitch you're seeing here.
Okay,
So we sewed through the tape and through the fabric. On this guy, remember I pointed out that we're not going to sew through the fabric. We only sewed one layer.
right.
So on that clutch that we made, let me see if I can find it. When we made this clutch, we did do a top stitch.
Right, that's what I was remembering, but
Yeah, that's what you're thinking of.
yeah,
So we used, but this isn't an invisible zipper. We used a regular zipper, and then we added that top stitch after we attached the tape.
mm-hmm.
But with the invisible zipper, you don't want anything stitched there.
Okay. So it should just be sewn on the side, like as a finish. The zipper part is finished.
Yeah, all done.
Okay.
All done. So it's just gonna look like that.
And that has no top stitching on it either, right?
No,
Just the original sewing, okay.
yeah. Are you guys using your leather bags? It's fall now, so
I'm actually gonna give mine to a friend who's vegan and she doesn't use like real leather, so I thought I'd give it to her.
oh,
for,
cool.
like, a gift.
Oh, good. Good, good. All right, well, I'm excited to finish this, because I like these bags. I think I'm gonna use it a lot. I hope you guys do too.
Oh, I have another question about the zipper.
Yeah,
Well, this one I kind of discovered, doing my practice. I'm totally off in everything. Anyways, if I have, if the zipper is too long, I can just cut it off, or do I have to sew an edge to it before I cut it off?
what project is this for?
No, this is the practice one. I did the practice one.
Oh, was it too long on the edges?
Yeah, well, I did the zipper too low. See, there's a gap here now. I don't know if you can see it. Like there's a gap.
Oh,
there.
I
did it
see.
Too low. So now it's sticking out on this side.
Yeah, you can just
Um,
cut that off, Carol.
I can cut it. Do I have to sew a stitch right here to secure the zipper, or make sure it doesn't, oh, you can, right here. Like
No, I would just take your pinking shears and cut it off.
Okay, so even if I have to cut off where the teeth is, it's okay?
Yeah, that's okay. It's not metal, it's plastic, so you can cut it with your scissors. When we sew the edges, because we're gonna sew those edges up, it'll keep it intact. So are you gonna make a pouch out of it?
Yeah, I'm gonna finish this one.
Not what?
That's why I was like wondering, oh, do I need to put a stop stitch on it? A top stitch on it, but it sounds like you don't. I just kind of seal the ends and then be done with this one.
Yeah, your zipper's done. You don't need a top stitch or anything, because the whole
Okay.
point of the invisible zipper is that it's soft. There's no
Okay.
stitching on it. It's just a fold. So,
Yeah, so the fact that I have a hole right here, that just means I didn't pull it high enough, right?
right, your zipper wasn't, yeah,
All
it
the way.
wasn't,
Okay.
it wasn't at the edge of the hole. Because remember I
good thing
said,
we do
make sure that
practices.
slider is at the very back of the hole, right? You want to, because we had an opening here. We sewed both sides of the opening, so you want to make sure this slider is at the very back of the hole, so you placed it slightly in front of the hole, so there's a little gap there.
Is
Yeah.
there a suggestion to fix it or just kind of leave it?
The only way to fix it would be to take the zipper out and redo it.
Oh, no. Okay.
So you can go ahead and make a pouch. Just sew up the sides like I showed you guys. Put it right sides together. And you're gonna sew a 1/2 inch seam allowance right along here up to the edge.
Mhm.
And then another one on this side. Make sure the zipper's open when you sew this so that you don't lock yourself out. Right? You want to leave the zipper open so you can turn it right side out.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't matter that your zipper is hanging off the edge here, because you're going to sew right here anyway and trim it. And the only problem with yours is you're just going to have that little gap. But this is not a big deal. I think you can still use it as long as you don't have small things that'll fall out.
And it's okay with the needle to sew right over the teeth?
Yeah, you can sew right over the zipper teeth and the tape. Just be careful. Like this new sewing machine I'm using, I don't like. It gets really unhappy when I sew over the zipper, but my other sewing machine had no problem at all. It shouldn't have a problem. Just be careful, go a little slow.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, you guys?
Yeah, Amy, so we basically learned 2 ways in sewing up the zipper, the invisible zipper, right? Because the first way is we kind of made an opening for the zipper. And then this other way, we're just kind of doing it flat.
Yeah, you're right, Maria. It is a little bit different because the practice zipper didn't have a lining. So the actual project or bag has a lining. So that's why the treatment was different.
Mm-hmm.
But it was still the same technique of ironing the zipper coil. That you have to prep it. We had to iron the coil flat. And it's still the same technique where you pin, where you sew along the edge with your zipper foot. And you don't sew through the 2 fabrics. So when you do a regular zipper,
Mm-hmm.
you do it the same way. I don't have the camera. Switch it. So when you sew a regular standard zipper, you would have 2 pieces of fabric, just like we did with our practice. And we made an opening. We sewed these 2 edges, right? And then we ironed the seam allowance open.
Yeah,
So we had these 2 pieces of fabric open like this, and then the seam allowance was folded over. Black, can't see.
yeah,
So with a regular zipper, you would sew the zipper tape to both layers, to the seam.
right. Yeah. So it's just on, so it looks, the finish is nice. It's
Yeah, but
all about the finish.
I wish you could see. Here, let me do it on this. You sew through both layers.
Right,
So it ends up looking like this.
exactly. Yeah,
On an invisible zipper, we didn't sew through both layers. We just sewed the zipper tape just to this
Right.
one layer. Yeah, see?
the outside seam.
Yeah, on the
Right.
regular zipper, you fold it and you put the tape on top of both of those layers, the seam allowance and the body fabric. So that's the concept with the invisible zipper that I wanted you guys to know.
Yeah, it's very nice. I like it.
And I mean, you got to practice. I know it wasn't exactly the same, but you know, I didn't want to have you guys cut lining and, you know, too exact. That's my practice for you guys. I hope it was helpful.
Yeah, I think it was very helpful for me, at least.
At least you got to, you know, experience the zipper foot and lining it up with the tape and all of that before you actually did it in the project. So,
Right.
Maria, did you finish putting your zipper in? Can I see it?
Yeah, let me get it.
Same with Carol. Can I see?
I got way off because apparently, you know, I can't cut straight. So whenever I try to sew pieces together, it's all off. So I think I'm just gonna like recut them and invest in a rotary cutter.
Yeah.
It's so hard. I can't cut straight. So like when I was trying to sew it together, it's all crooked, you know?
Yeah, I know.
So-
I hear you. I hear you. With these straight angles,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it would be nice to have a rotary cutter. But when you're making clothing and garments, it's better to use the scissors.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
when they
and
do
these-
straight cuts, it's like, oh, it should be easy. But then when they're not aligned, it's just all weird, you know?
Yeah, it's annoying. I know.
So
But
this
I
is
did the
fun.
practice, so I think I'll be good.
So let me see. Nice. What's the bottom fabric?
It's a black on black, tone on tone, sort of.
Oh.
I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, cool. It's like a pattern.
Yeah, like a pattern, but it's black on black. And I actually was wondering if I can just use this for the main project. Just attach the lining.
Oh,
to
is
this.
that your practice?
This is my practice, yeah.
Oh, no, for your practice, you were supposed to have a separate piece of fabric.
I know, but I wanted to make it bigger. And then I realized, oh, I wonder if I can just transform this into our pouch.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you made 2 contrasting fabrics, and so now
I
you have
added,
2.
I only have one. I haven't done the other one.
Oh, okay.
But
Yeah.
I realized I can just add the lining to this.
Let me see. Oh no, it's too late
No?
to add the lining.
Oh, I see. Right.
So you put the interfacing on it too?
Yeah,
Oh no, Maria.
I know. But I think can't I add the lining, like stitch it up again over here, or no? I guess
Uh, let's see. Why don't you just make it without the lining?
Okay.
Um,
Or I can actually make another one. Because I have I have heavier fabric as well. So that's no problem.
I mean, you could try stitching the lining. I don't have it in front of me. If I had your bag in front of me,
Right.
I would try, I could see it and kind of figure it out. So I'm trying to imagine on mine. I guess if you think you can attach a lining to this seam allowance right here,
Yeah. I've done it before with
maybe,
pouches.
yeah, go for it. Fold the lining so that the right side of the lining is facing this way.
Yeah.
And
Like I
just sew it to the seam allowance. If you said you've done it before, then yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sorry that wasn't clear.
No, it was clear, but I just kind of kept going. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep going. And it was very clear with your explanation. But
Yeah,
but I can also do a second one anyway. Because I have
you
this
can do a
zipper.
second one. You won't have the extra interfacing because we only gave you one set.
Yeah.
But you could make it without interfacing.
And I have a heavier fabric as well. So
Yeah,
it's fine.
yeah,
And I have some other interfacing anyway. So
yeah. So you, you're good to go.
yeah. Okay.
All right, you guys. So go, also homework, go in your closet. Do you guys have any like dresses or anything that has an invisible zipper? Because it might be helpful to go and look through your clothes and just try to find something with an invisible zipper, find something with a regular zipper, look at your jeans, look at your dress, if you have fancy dresses or blouses or skirts. Go look in your closet. If even better, go to the store and just get familiar and see what it looks like so you know what an invisible zipper is and you can see the difference between the invisible zipper and a regular zipper. Because on purses and bags, it's different than on clothes too. So, I mean, it's not different, but it looks different when you're looking at it. So. All right.
Okay.
Thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Amy, do you know